Our agenda is that we're going to talk about what is an available man, what are their traits, what it is that you can do to shift it, what is the main shift that you can take for yourself. I'm also going to be talking about the Love Goddess Experience program. Enrollment is open and you can join. It begins on July 13th. I've been offering those free Q&As and masterclasses at the Tantra Institute since November last year. And my main intention is to support women in getting the knowledge because, right, when we hope that, oh, something good will happen, or I'm going to meet this perfect person, and then we're going to be just super, super happy. It can be maybe true for the beginning of the relationship, but it's rarely true for the entirety of the relationship because in order for us to cultivate relationships, we need to have relationship skills. In order for us to have our relationship skills, we need to get knowledge. And relationships, one of the main features of the relationships, it is that they expose ourselves because there is another person who is a mirror and it reflects me things that otherwise I cannot see. Last week, I was doing a masterclass on the topic of, my God, I forgot the topic, but it was about why women chase and crave to be chosen. And in that topic, we were talking very deep about what actually drives us to be in a relationship. And it's not often love. So it's important for us to understand our shadows. It's important for us to understand our wounds. It's important for us to understand our past and our reactivity, because you can be super chill, super fun, super incredible person to be around with your friends, with your colleagues. But the moment where someone comes into close proximity, the moment where you feel more exposed, more vulnerable, right? The moment you feel that attachment, the moment that you feel yearning, deep yearning to be understood and seen, the moment maybe you feel the lack of love that's been present in your life for 20, 40, 50 years, oof, a lot of things happens. And I often say that in a relationship dynamic, in the polarity aspect of the relationship, right? And there's many things that you can learn about polarity from a tantric standpoint, from the energy, from where to put your attention, from understanding the psychology, understanding biology, understanding hormones and how we are different. Like all of that is present, but I often say that men respond to us. And we as women, we react to them. So mastering your emotional reactivity and in general, your own emotional climate is very important because the way we feel, people in general, right, have a response to that. You can do a simple test. And when you go and order coffee, do it when you're cranky, were you upset, right? Were you not in your best mood? And do it where you're smiling, where you having a great day, where you just choosing to see a good things, and notice how barista or a cashier would respond to you. So the same, but like 10, 20 times escalated happens in a relationship. That's why with my 8 years experience in coaching and 20 years of studying and understanding the art of conscious loving and what goes into building, sustaining, creating, and cultivating healthy, thriving, delicious, alive relationships, I know one thing and stand by it, that it all begins with knowledge. We need to educate ourselves on things that we don't know about relationships and how we build connections and as humans in the era of cell phones and technology, right? The knowledge. Then it's the courage to take an action. Once you take action, you start cultivating and creating and building experiences because it's not only theory. Now I felt it. My nervous system knows this. I lived through it. And only when I lived through it, I'm willing to start changing my behavior because I have visceral data that it's working. And that new behavior will gonna change the quality of my life. And that's why I've been offering those Q&A and masterclasses since the end of last year to support women in mastering their relationship skills so they can feel more secure, more thriving, more like a queen in a relationship. And we're going to be talking more in detail today about that. Let me see. Um, Complete distance, physically here, but not here. Infrequent contact, but we are in a friendship stage. I would say infrequent contact and being in a friendship stage can be a sign of a man who is not interested in a relationship, not necessarily that he is unavailable. Um, so there is nuance to that. And those who joined us, please, if you want, put in the chat how exactly you know that somebody is not available or that you are stuck in an almost relationship. Like, what gives that away? Um, so let's dive in. The first thing that I want to talk about is let's actually talk about what are the signs that the person, the man that you are with, you're interested in, you are dating maybe or seeing that he is not available, right? He is emotionally unavailable. What are the signs in his behavior? So the first one is that he is not actively interested or involved in your life. Meaning he might ask you polite questions, how was your day or how was your week? But he doesn't really listening to the answers. He never asks you additional curious questions. He never, like remembers maybe that I drink my coffee with milk and no sugar. Like he doesn't remember and notice small things about your character, your preferences, um, and other things of that nature. So that would be the sign number one. The sign number two is that he would need more space, more alone time, much longer intervals between your meetings. So you might be seeing him like once per month or once in 2 weeks, or it's incredibly infrequent, and all the meetings are happening on his turn. If you ever initiate anything, he most likely will be not available, not in the mood, or his response to you if you inviting or like maybe like even inviting to a concert or anywhere or at any other event, his response will be, I'm not sure. I need more time, or I need to feel into that, or I will see how I'm going to feel in the evening or tomorrow. So it's like avoidance to either commitment future plans or even avoidance to any spontaneity. And the meetings that you have, right, the dates that you have, they are pretty much happening on his terms. So that would be another side. Another sign is that he is not comfortable with any sort of vulnerability. Like if something goes on in his life, he's going through something, his response most likely will be, I don't want to talk about it. Or when you're sharing something emotional, he might not be very comfortable to holding space for those feelings. He might try to give you solutions. He might get emotionally entangled with things that you are sharing as well, versus like holding space for you, witnessing you, or offering you a compassion. He might get irritated. He might get emotional himself. He might even interpret that as a conflict, or you needing something, or you being way too needy or being way too dramatic, right? Where you're trying to share just simply what's on your heart, and somebody labels that as too sensitive, too needy, too dramatic, too emotional. It's like he completely dismisses what exactly you're saying. What are you bringing? Your experience. And it's not necessarily a lack of attunement, but it is definitely a limitation that he can have. Um, he can be very often distracted. He always might have big projects going on, like different things that need his attention from a relationship. You might find yourself in a situation where you constantly hear from a person that now is not a good time for me to go deeper into relationship, right? Like I need to finish this big work project that's going to give me promotion, or like, oh, I need to buy a new home, or like, oh, I need to, I don't know, what is it? Repaint my house or my apartment, right? Like he can find any distraction outside of himself just to avoid committing to the relationship and to any kind of a future that actually two of you can build. And of course, he is inconsistent, and he always inconsistent for a good reason, right? He would never admit that, like, yeah, I'm inconsistent. It's just like I always have a great excuse to be inconsistent. He is vague in defining the relationships. He will never give you a clarity, or he might even give you a particular title. He might even tell you that you are his girlfriend, but it's like you will be experiencing it the way you would feel. It's like it still doesn't feel like I'm a girlfriend. Maybe he's not taking you into consideration when he makes the decisions. Maybe he does things still on his own without checking in with how it is that you're feeling. And other signs. And when there is any conflict, he either shuts down after the conflict, or he's stonewalling you where you don't hear from him, or maybe he might even block you everywhere, or like even say to you, like, I can't handle this right now, I'm blocking you, right? So when conflict comes, he doesn't have capacity for conflict resolution or to hold the intensity and the discomfort. So does that clear? Is this getting like more detailed and more clear? I forgot to tell you that my love language of those calls is emoji. So please, if something resonates with you, please put emoji. You can use the react button and I will be able to see that things are good, things are landing. Okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome. Yeah. Versus where somebody who is not interested into you, or somebody who just puts you in a box of like have fun, or like just being his booty call type of the date. That person would, right, usually invite you last minute to things. And when you with that person, you might kind of still feel like the wall that they're not letting you deeper into their life. Versus somebody who is emotional and available, when you're together, you can actually feel a lot of closeness. You can actually feel a lot of warmth. You can actually feel like true chemistry and true connection. And maybe you even have a lot of things in common. However, your relationship and your connection is happening on their terms solely. Meaning, when they are in a good mood, when they are available, when this is good for them, when they have window in their busy schedule, and versus anything that you ever need, anything that you ever request, the moment like you letting them know that you exist and you like a separate sovereign entity, then you're going to get a very big pushback, resentment, criticism, avoidance, and all of the other things, right? It's like your good relationship with unavailable man exists in harmony only on his terms. Versus when somebody's not interested into you, that kind of like a very different vibe, because when you even meeting with them, it still doesn't have like that, what I call like substance, the oomph, versus where you are in a relationship with unavailable man. Because when we talk about unavailability, and I talked about it in my Q&A when we were talking about attachment, and in the Q&A that I did last week about why women chase and crave to be chosen, we talked in detail about unavailability and unavailable people who are emotionally unavailable. It's usually the result of severe trauma, and trauma is the experience that we never completed. And unavailable people, they are not comfortable. Often people say they're not comfortable with closeness. And that sometimes can be a little bit too frustrating and not like too detailed, because what they really uncomfortable with is emotions and emotional expression. So when you bring to them vulnerability, when you bring to them disagreement, it's not that they don't love you and they react sometimes in an angry or stonewalling way. It's because they get so overwhelmed, and the only way they know to regulate themselves is to remove themselves from you. That's why stonewalling, that's why shutting down, that's why blocking. And then when they are regulated, it's like you're getting completely different person. So it kind of feels like you interacting with two different people. And the truth is, now I want to talk about very, very important piece, which is the piece of education, because we need to know that and we need to be very clear about that. Um, right? Let's say you are navigating such dynamics in your life. And you might understand his traumas and his experiences. You might even educating yourself on attachment. You may be working with your anxiety. You may be having a strategy. You know what? Let me be more calm. Let me be more chill. Let me ask less questions, right? Like you're starting to tiptoeing. You're starting to figure out his mood. And you're like, oh my God, I'm going to do everything I can to make this relationship successful. Who can recognize themselves in them? Or who has ever done that? I see some hands. Yeah, totally fine, totally okay. Right? We all do that, and that's part of our human nature. And it's desired, right, to love, to be loved, not to easily give up on people. All of that is great. However, if that is a pattern, and many of you who submitted the question coming up into today's call, one of the things that I saw is like, I have this pattern that I attract only unavailable men, right? Where I see the cycle where it's a different man, but it's the same dynamic. So in this case, then a very important question, and in a way, a pivotal question for us to ask is, why am I choosing to stay in those dynamics? And if any of you have any reflections or any ideas, please type them in the chat. And why am I choosing to stay in this dynamics? Because it's very important for us to have clarity. Like clarity is incredibly needed in our adult life when we navigate life and when we make choices, including the relationship choices. If I don't have clarity, if I'm just a bubble of my emotional reactivity, then in a way, I'm not living my life because I'm just reacting to whatever it is that's going on. And life tends to throw on us a lot of circumstances, a lot of challenges, a lot of situations. And if we're not equipped to handle them, right? You like, I don't know, a ship in the ocean that has no direction, right? Nobody rides that ship. You just basically, depending on what's the weather, what is the current, right? And you just kind of like floating wherever you're gonna go. And in general, right, that's not a very conscious way of living. But another big piece of it is, as women, our nervous system is wired for safety and stability and consistency. So when we don't have that, it puts us in a constant stress mode, in constant fight or flight, and it prevents us from living the life, enjoying ourselves, being in our feminine, being present to what's good, and actually recognizing other opportunities and signs that are coming in our life. Because if I'm always preoccupied doing something, handling something, fixing something, reacting to something, right? Constantly like going through an ocean of emotions, I don't have any space for anything else. So, um, why do we choose unavailable men and why we stuck in almost relationship? Because the drama of unavailable men is that it's not that they're vicious, they are not narcissist or sociopath. They actually able to feel, they usually feel deeply. They're not able to articulate that. They're not necessarily able to show that through their compassion or attunement, but they feel deeply. They generally want to find a perfect person for them, just with a disclaimer. It has to be on their terms, where their nervous system is not getting overwhelmed. And that's why, right, you end up in the cycle of almost relationship, because that's actually all that they can offer you. If they were able to give you more, if they had the capacity in their nervous system to tolerate another human being who is different from them on a daily basis, they would offer you that. And maybe even logically, you understand this, right? Maybe you're hearing this and you're like, yeah, I know all that. And yet still, I'm choosing to be here. Or yet still, this is very appealing and very attractive to me. So let's talk about a couple of reasons why are we choosing those type of dynamics and those type of relationship. Well, the number one is that this dynamic is familiar, meaning you learn this somewhere. Because one of the things in those relationship dynamics is that you are trying very hard. You are extremely attuned. You are extremely available. This relationship and this man, in a way, is your project. It takes a lot of your mental and emotional time and energy. And you learned this somewhere because, right, nobody who is not familiar with this would step into this and be like, hell yeah, bring it on, give me more, right? The tenaciousness and the resilience, they already in you. And of course, usually this familiarity comes from childhood. If in my childhood I have parents or households that were not fully emotionally safe or attuned to me, where I had to fight in a way for my existence to be lovable, for them to pay attention to me, for them to notice me, right? That feeling that I have to work very hard for love is already in me when I'm 20 and I'm falling in love for the first time, right? And I'm getting into relationship. Like that feeling that I have to work very hard to earn love and attention is one of the strongest experiences that you know by the time where you grow up and start getting into relationships. And it's very important for us to go back to those roots and those first experiences and address them. And when you join the Love Goddess Experience program, you can join it right now before we're going to start on July 13th. There's pre-game modules, and one of them is clearing your relationships with your parents. And it is confronting exercise. There's two of them. One is confronting, one is actually very fun and offers you a lot of breakthroughs in a positive way, and in a way helps you reframe your challenging experiences. But we have to face those uncomfortable experiences, right? We have to stand up for ourselves, even just in our own monologue with ourselves, right? And reclaim the parts of us that were invisible and were neglected and didn't receive the safety and the support and the attunement that we needed. Because when we never go back to that first experience, you spend your whole life trying to rewrite your story by choosing men who most likely not capable to support you in rewriting your story because you're choosing somebody who is emotionally unavailable. And that's a clear limitation. And we go to emotional unavailable people who get overwhelmed by emotional warmth and closeness and intimacy. They cannot give us attunement that we need, but we go to them because they give us what? Familiar challenge, right? And it's like a blind kitten that, right, just being born and doesn't cannot walk or do anything, right? Like we just feeling the familiar and we responding, oh, that's familiar, so let me just go, and because it's familiar, let me now try harder with everything that I know, and I'm going to rewrite that. But we're choosing people for 90% of the time who are not capable to give us the happy ending that we're craving. And just to get it from the person is actually not going to work. Because there are women, maybe even on this call, and if that's you, feel free to comment in the chat, who've been married, who spent decades with unavailable partners. So living in the same household, having kids, having a piece of paper, right, that tells that you are with each other forever, still doesn't help you heal or doesn't help you change the dynamic. So it's not about the label. It's not about what it is that you can get, what it is that you can manipulate and squeeze out of this relationship. If you still feeling the devastation, the hunger, the disappointment of not being fully met, seen, and if you're not feeling safe next to this man, if this is not a person who is available for conflict resolution with you, right? If there's not someone who is able to witness you at your worst and still remind you what an incredible and beautiful woman you are, there is part of you that yearns for that. And the longer we stay in those dynamic, the stronger the sensation of not having it will become. And then in a way, it turns into like this ocean that is the only emotion I feel. And the longer we stay in this dynamic, the harder it is to change it. And I'm going to talk in a moment what it is that you can do to change it and to improve it. But I just want to explain to you that when we just logically react to this, or when we just following our emotions, around this people and this relationship dynamics and convincing ourselves to stay in them or bargaining with ourselves, because we also do that, right? Our brain designed that way that it doesn't care for your happiness. It cares for your safety. And it literally tells you, hey, this is familiar. We know this. So this is better than whatever it is new, unfamiliar thing. Right? But I want you to understand the price, the invisible price that you are paying, that the longer you remain disappointed and dropped and heartbroken in those dynamics, the longer you fight, the longer you try harder, the longer you learn different techniques, how to deal with whatever his unavailability is, right? The longer we're trying to please the other person without addressing our own disappointment, our own wound, our own betrayal, right? Our own traumatic experience, and then choose to take agency that I'm going to be making different choices, right? And we make different choices. What propels us to make different choices is knowledge and education, right? Because in order for me let go one thing, I need to know where the hell do I need to go. And in order for me to know where do I need to go, I need to educate myself. Well, what are my options? What are the paths? What is the map for me to follow? Right. So all of that is right. It requires you to take your own responsibility and understand, why am I driven? And in the masterclass that I did last week on why women chase and crave to be chosen, that masterclass is exclusively available in the Love Goddess experience. If you're joining today, you can go and watch that masterclass. Is available there as your bonuses. I, in detail, talk about those childhood experiences so you can understand why, you can understand the mechanics of how it works. I'm not going to go deeper on this call because we have other things to cover. So does that clear? There anybody here who can recognize and be like, yep, I learned that like way, way, way before. Yep, that's me. Okay, awesome. Thank you. You're describing, did I see? You're describing my childhood. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. And then we never understand how it works, right? We don't understand those mechanics. And that's why we stay stuck in those relationships, because at least I'm busy. At least I'm feeling and thinking that I'm doing something. Yeah. Thank you. Very digestible. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Good. Okay, the second reason why we get stuck in those relationship dynamics, it might be simply a habit. If your first relationship was with somebody, right, or your first marriage was with somebody who is like that. And at the beginning, it's hard to identify that because at the beginning, emotional unavailable people, the nullity of that, right? All the hormones, oxytocin, dopamine, and also their desire for intimacy, right? That usually like creates a very beautiful beginning of a love story. But if you then, right, get stuck in this marriage or it was a long-term relationship that then start digressing and you stayed in them for such a long time because, we live together, we have kids, we have this, we have that, we have history. I don't want to leave. Maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe I'm not being good. Maybe I'm not a good wife. Maybe I'm not a good girlfriend because sometimes when somebody who is unavailable because they cannot tolerate shame, right? The moment you're trying to tell them, like, hey, you didn't really show up for me, instead of hearing you, they're going to get defensive and then they're going to start talking about you. Um, because they cannot deal with sensation of shame because it literally feels like they are dying because shame in a way it's like canceling them as a person. So they redirect it to you. They find a logical explanation that no, you actually very needy. And because you very needy, we have this problem. I'm great. I'm just busy. Right. And logically, you might listen to this and you're like, huh, maybe that's true. Maybe I'm just very anxious. I'm going to go and study all the courses on anxious attachment and not be needy. And that's a lie. That's an illusion. And in a way, that's a manipulation, not necessarily a narcissistic manipulation, right? Where they like harming you consciously, but it's their defense strategy. And if we young, naive, or again, we don't have this education, we don't know psychology, we don't understand how we react, we don't know, right, like the principles of relating, then we take those baits and we go and work on ourselves very hard. In the Love Goddess Experience program, we have a whole module on men's and women's needs in relationship. And I teach needs always in all of my programs because it's crucial and it's a foundation of a relationship. If in your relationship your needs are not met and his needs are not met, that relationships will gonna collapse sooner or later. Right? Like unfulfilled needs, it will kills and destroys the relationship. Right? Not communication skills, not all the other things, needs. And needs are often something that we don't understand about each other because men know very little about women. We as women also know very little about men. We usually treat them the way we would treat a girlfriend. And we usually offer them things that we like to receive, but they are different. And one of the lessons in that block about, my God, what it is, about relationship psychology, where you guys going to learn needs for men and women in relationships. There is a Q&A with a panel of 5 men. They are from different walks of lives. And all of them were answering different questions for women. And all of them confirmed that they would choose respect over love. And there is an explanation to that, why and why it's that important. And respect, it's actually their need. And often we don't know how to respect them, but we like shower them with love and attention and it doesn't land for them. And we like don't understand, like, oh my God, I'm doing everything I can for him. I'm being so loving. And he feels incredibly disrespected. Right. So those things are crucially important. That's why right. That's why I say education, education, education. And that's why it's a significant part of this program because it's important to know that. And it's also important for you to know what are your needs. So when you come to a partner, this or any other future partner you're going to have, you're not going to take the bait that you are too needy. You actually going to know very clearly what are my needs as a woman because our needs, they are wired in our hormones in our nervous system. It's not something that you can choose and it's not something that you can override. And if your needs are not fulfilled, you inevitably gonna start feeling unsafe in this relationship. One of our needs as women is closeness. And we experience closeness through consistency, right? That's why we want to receive that good morning, beautiful text message every freaking day. It really matters to us, right? And it doesn't make us needy. It's simply what gives our nervous system a message that this is stable, this is consistent. I can relax here, I can exhale here, I can tap into my beautiful, juicy, radiant femininity. I don't have to hold my armor here. And that's crucially important for us then to also show up as women in a relationship and have access to our femininity that men crave to experience and receive. Right? So when somebody tells you, oh, I don't have time for that, or I don't care about that, right? You're not going to back down. You're actually going to say, no, this is my need. And the impact of not having this need is that I'm going to shut down and I'm not going to be fully available for this relationship. Right, so that's an important thing for us to know, so we can be less easily manipulated. The third reason why we get stuck in those dynamics, because they create an illusion of worthiness. You know the fairy tale Beauty and the Beast, right? Let me get this beast, right? This emotional, unavailable, challenging, complicated, complex, unattainable man, right? The whole Sex and the City, the whole 6 seasons, right? She was chasing Mr. Big because he was unavailable. The problem is that in a TV show and in a fairy tale, they're gonna give you a happy ending, guys, because their job is to give you hope. They don't give you the reality that that will not gonna happen in real life, right? Unless the person who is unavailable will choose to do their work because they literally have limitations, right? That's how they wired. And you're not in charge whether they choose to do the work or not. And it doesn't mean how great or not great you are, right? Everybody on the planet have their own free will. And sometimes, and believe me, I went through that myself, where we believe that no, 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 I'm a very special creature and I'm going to inspire this man to change for me. And that's not the case. But we might get stuck for years trying to play that, right? Trying to go on that quest to experience our own significance and worthiness. The problem is when we try to find our sense of self-worth through another person, it's going to be empty. Because even if, right, you got that person, you live together with them, now you have a very big problem. How am I going to keep them? How can I make sure that they're not going to leave? How can I make sure they, God forbid, not going to like somebody better than me? How am I going to make sure they're going to show up for me? Right now, you have a project next to you for 24/7. And now you're fighting not only for your relationship, not because you love him. Now you have much bigger stake, your self-identity. Because your sense of worthiness, how great and significant woman you are now, is tied to this person, to him being next to you, being in a relationship with you. And let's say I can give up on the relationship and survive the breakup. What I will not be able to survive is completely lose my identity, right? Because identity, it's existential. And if I'm tying my identity to this relationship where I was fighting, right, with my teeth, right, for the worthiness, for existence, it's going to be, I'm willing to suffer through everything, right? It's no longer about love and romance because it's getting more personal and more existential for me. But then you trapped. And that's a very uncomfortable feeling because now you bargaining with yourself. Now you stepping over your own pain, your own discomfort. You massively self-abandoning yourself. And that creates disease, that creates all other very uncomfortable circumstances because your energy and vibration is going down, 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 down. And like it's a very, very not pretty mess. What I see in today's world is that none of us is actually allowed to stay in that false dynamic. Like all of us, in a way, are challenged to actually find our own identity and build our own foundation, which is the reason why I created the Love Goddess Experience program and the reason why I created the Feminine Throne Method, which supports you as a woman to start cultivating your feminine, emotional, energetic foundation that doesn't depend on anything that is outside of you. Because very often, especially as women, because we conditioned in a way to be good for others, right? Good girl when you're a little girl and do everything that your parents tell you and you never throw a tantrum, right? Good wife, good partner, where you do everything that your husband demands from you. You sacrifice everything, you support his career, you give up on your interest. That makes you good. Isn't it fascinating? Right? So we conditioned to give up on ourselves, and that presented to us as a virtue, as something that makes us very significant and very valuable. But many of us probably experience that when you live that life, it's excruciatingly empty. And sooner or later, you would have, right, like that feeling and desire to start building and cultivating your life and also be in a relationship where your individuality is respected and you appreciate it for who you are versus being a function to somebody else, right? Versus to being server to somebody else. So I don't think that we have a luxury. I think all of us, depending on what price are we paying, right? Things that we're losing, the excruciating experiences we're going through, but all of us are invited to come back to who we are and claim our individuality. And for me, when we talk about feminine empowerment, is not the things that we can do in the outside world. It's actually how secure we feel within ourselves and how committed we are to our own well-being. That's why one of the legs of the Feminine Throne Method, which you're going to learn in the Love Goddess Experience program, is self-devotion. And self-devotion, it's a daily practice for the rest of your life, right? It's being able to pause and feel into, am I actually a yes to something that I'm committing to, agreeing, giving my time and attention to? And ask yourself, what do I need? What do I desire? And dare to say no to others because you're choosing yourself. And that behavior is a behavior of a queen. I worked with thousands of women in the past 8 years, and almost every woman desired to be a queen. But we have this very romanticized ideas that I need to find my king and then I'm going to be a queen. Or I need to, I don't know, run the successful company and then I'm going to be a queen. Or I need to acquire something, or I need to look a particular way and then I'm going to be a queen. Completely dismissing the inner work part where I need to coronate myself. I'm in a way claiming my own queendom. It is my responsibility to do that. And the way I do it is by tirelessly choosing myself and dare to be inconvenient to other people, right? And that's a true mastery. And we cannot do that, right? You're not going to be able to choose that if you never completed the experience of being neglected by your parents, and if you're looking to get a love and validation from people outside of you. You cannot choose yourself. You can't because you're restless by fighting for that attention and love and care, right? So that's why the exercise that you have in the pregame modules, it's crucial. It's important, right? We need to clear that. And in the first block of the program, when we work on your femininity and your feminine state, it's what's in your field, right? It's how you feel about yourself. And I often like to give this metaphor of a smell. And if you didn't wash your body for days or weeks, and you putting a new dress and you going for an event, no matter how great your new dress looks and your makeup, but the smell from the unwashed body is traveling with you wherever you go. So when we have the resentment towards men, resentment towards our parents, this hunger of the emotions, hunger for love, and we still, right, don't want to deal with that, not looking at that, fighting for things outside of ourselves, that, all of that travels with you into every relationship. And available man might be repelled by that, or you might not even be willing or interested to notice him and be into him because, right, you preoccupied doing other things and ignoring other things. So clearing those things and taking radical responsibility, right? Like daring to coronate yourself, to say, I am the queen. And self devotion from now on is how I live my life in this woman's body. And I don't care about society and other people because I'm going to measure what's true to me. And that's a very courageous act. And those women, right? Sometimes I get those questions of like, do I need to be like complicated with men or like, act hard to get? And it's not about acting hard to get, it's choosing to be authentic, right? And it's being okay when you're getting an offer from a man or an invitation or certain behavior to be inconvenient and to say, hey, this doesn't work for me. And not being afraid to leave, which is another quality of the queen, is that I'm not afraid to remove myself from the situations that doesn't work for me. Now, all of this sounds great in theory. How the hell am I going to do it in practice, right? In order for me to do it in practice, I have to build my feminine throne. I have to build my foundation where I know how to feed my need and desire for closeness. Because your need and desire for closeness is never going to be fulfilled just by one tiny man. Or no matter how, even he's 6 feet tall, right? Doesn't matter because closeness is not their need. Even if he's an extrovert, he will not be able to fulfill your desire for communication, for interaction, for activities, for experiences, for quality time. So you need to take responsibility to build the life and to have other sources, groups, activities, girlfriends that fulfill that hunger. So you're not coming to the relationship hungry. Very often as women, again, we just unconsciously do this. We go into relationship with men hungry, and we expect from men to save us, to take care of us, to protect us, but not from a foundation of like, I'm okay and I'm showing up here as a woman. It's like, I'm showing up here tired, depleted, as a child, right? In my patterns, and you have to fix me up and love me the way I am. Now, of course, we want that to happen in our relationship, but it cannot be the entirety of our relationship, right? It cannot be what the relationship is because men in modern world especially, they not necessarily wake up, jump off the bed and like, oh my God, I need to find a woman to be in a relationship. Because a lot of things that they can get in a relationship in today's world, they can get it from different services, right? Cooking, cleaning, even sex. Like in today's world, you have all sorts of services available. So what actually sparks his interest to be in a relationship with you is how he feels next to you. So if you're coming into this relationship with a heavy baggage and with the challenge for him to heal you and restore your belief in love, why would he be interested in that job? Right? We want to have great experiences and relationships that survive long term. And it's not an empty relationship. It's not a roommate type of relationship. It's relationship that have 80% of good, fun, fulfilling interactions. Right? And 20% of challenges, conflicts, misunderstandings. But often it's actually the opposite, right? We come into relationship and 80% of relationship is we healing something, we're projecting something, we're fighting for something, we're suffering through, and only 20% is something good. Right? So in order for us to flip that, that's why as we men, we need to clear those patterns, we need to clear those energies, we need to clear those behaviors, and we change those behaviors through actions and through experiences. That's why the program is called Love God is Experience. I'm going to talk about the program in a moment. I want to finish the fourth one. Reason why you get stuck in this relationship is what calls intermittent reinforcement. With unavailable people in almost relationships, it constantly hot and cold, hot and cold. They come close, you have great time, then they blow up, something happens, they disappear, they don't talk to you, they overwhelmed, right? And you constantly living on this roller coaster or on the swings. And this cycle is incredibly addictive because of the chemicals and the hormones, right? Oxytocin and dopamine. I feel great when we're together. Then you not right, like we're not just going into normal neutral time. No, no, no. You not talking to me, you disappearing, you not existence, we having conflict, you accusing me in something, right? So from high, I'm falling down, right? It's an incredible crash. And the contrast of that is incredibly addictive because when you're crashing, you're miserable. You feel bad about yourself. You feel guilty. You feel anxious. Then this person comes back and the relief comes back, right? And that's pure addiction. That's like what a heroin addiction is, right? Or any substance addiction is that. So when you experience that, when you trained in that, when that been your life for a long extended period of time, it's very hard to just walk away because right it's like you start believing that oh my god having a good relationship with this person it's like answer to all of my questions. It's not the case because we just repeating the cycle, we're not doing anything to break the cycle, but that cycle suck you in deeper and impact your mental, emotional, and physical health because it's extremely draining. And you, because of this cycle, you're constantly in survival. Because if things are good, you already train to wait when they're going to collapse and when they're going to change. So even when they are good, you are not able to relax. And a woman who is constantly in survival, who's constantly stressed, you're not going to have access to your femininity. You're not going to have access to your sensuality, your sexuality, your creativity. You're not. Right? And it's like you robbing yourself then from a beautiful life experience that you can have in this body. How is this landing so far? Let me see what is in the chat. No more projects being there, done that. Beautiful. Hell yes. Gaslighting. Okay. How all of this is landing so far, ladies. Send some emojis, some comments. How do you complete the trauma? Number one, you need to understand this. You need to understand what the trauma is. You need to understand what is the experience that you have, right? Like, what is that experience? What is the first one? You need to understand, you need to see it. You need to do the practices, such as our clearing practice, parents' clearing practice. And it doesn't mean you do it once. You might need to do it several times. And the goal when you do the practice is to actually feel it, like to feel the anger, to feel the disappointment, to feel everything that you can feel now that you were not able to feel as a child. Then in the Love God Experience program, we also have a module on emotional alchemy. It's how you go and clear that experience on the emotional level. And that is guided and explained. And then you start educating yourself and you start making different choices and you pay attention to how you feel. And that's to you the most important, right? It's like, how am I feeling? What am I choosing? Can I relax? Can I breathe? Am I regulated? Or am I like, you know, restless? Right? When I tense. I always tell women when you go on a date, notice what's going on with your shoulders. If it's like this, you're not present. You're not feminine. You need to take a deep breath, relax, and lean back and start noticing, how do I feel in his presence? Not thinking, feeling. And then we can feel when we're shifting in our parasympathetic experience. And many of us who live with the trauma will live by default. Will live by default in a state of tension, and it's just a habit. So you're noticing and you're like, okay, I don't have to be tense. It's fine, right? And a lot of self-awareness. But what I said at the beginning, I'm going to repeat it again, right? How we create the shift. Knowledge, then we do our emotional clearing processing, then we start taking courage to action, right? To take action. Then we create new experiences. After the experiences, we have new behavior. After new behavior, we're finally going to have different results, right? In different life and different identity. That is the path. There is no magic pill. Like sometimes I think even today when people submit in questions, it's like, what book or what one thing I can do to change that? Does not exist. Right? Does not exist. And we as women, we're very fortunate because we have our capacity to feel. Our emotional palette is wider. So everything that comes to uncomfortable experiences, we need to feel them. And I also offer one-on-one sessions for someone who wants to go deeper and do that work of clearing your emotional trauma with your parents, especially around love and attachment and connection. And we can do that in a private session. Now, I want to take time and talk about the Love Goddess Experience program to explain to you a little bit how it works, because everything that I talk to you today, I created this program to support women and to give them the map how to live and navigate this life as a woman in woman's body and build and create relationships consciously without just hoping for something better to happen. So the program begins officially on July 13th. It is available for you to sign up right now. As I said, you have pre-game modules. They are open and available. Please do them. The Telegram group, which will be our channel for communication, will be open next week. You can already share in the discussion chat about what's going on for you when you do those modules. There is a module on emotional alchemy where different practices how to release the anger, different practices how to work with your uncomfortable feelings. Um, Beautiful practice of yin yoga with my incredible friend Nalini that helps you get into your body and create more spaciousness in your body. All of that is available to you right now. Also available a lot of bonus masterclasses and Q&A similar to this. They are there for you. You can start watching them right now. On July 13th, our very first module will be released. So the program is a hybrid, which means it's a mix of pre-recorded modules and live calls. Pre-recorded modules, all of them are released on Monday. So they're not going to be released all together and then you're never going to watch them. It's paced. So on July 13th, you're going to get your very first module. Then on July 21st will be the second one. We also going to have a homework thread on the Telegram group where you will be sharing your homework reflections. So there's a lot of opportunity for accountability, right? It's not something that you buy and then never do. There's a lot of opportunity for discussion, for you to ask me questions, to share what's going on for you, to receive feedback from me, to receive cheering and witnessing for all your sisters in the container in the group. We also have live coaching calls. There is 4 of them. And on the live coaching calls, we're going to be doing heavy lifting, deep work with working with your beliefs, for example, because a lot of beliefs that we got from our childhood, they are invisible in many ways. They are unconscious in many ways because you've been saying this phrase for yourself for as long as you can remember yourself. So I'm going to be teaching you a special tool from positive psychology, how to take your belief to court, but also how to find and identify your belief. So you can always go back and clear that, because what we think, what we believe is possible for us create a massive impact on our behavior and also how we feel. So all of that is interconnected. So our first block, we're going to be working on femininity. What is femininity? What's your feminine state? We're going to be doing clearing. You're going to be doing assessment of your life, how you feel about yourself and your life. You're going to learn about understanding different roles that a woman have in a relationship, understanding what is empowered and disempowered masculine and feminine is, so you can recognize those behaviors. The idea is not to avoid them. The idea is to recognize them and to know how to bounce back and how to choose a different behavior, right? How to get yourself out from down spiral, back into neutral, and then into up spiral. Because that's part of our emotional regulation, which empowers us and makes us more stronger. Um, and then we're going to have a live call on the beliefs. You're going to also learn the feminine throne method. We're going to have a special chat on the Telegram for the feminine throne, where you're going to be sharing things that you done for yourself. Because the program calls experience, because a lot of homework that you do are deeply experiential. And one of your homeworks would be, for example, to take the class that you wanted to take for a long time. Right? And you taking the class because you want to experience something new, you want to try something new. And it's an act of choosing yourself, doing things for your own pleasure, connecting with yourself, who you are. So all the homeworks that you're going to be doing, it's deeply experiential. Then our second block will be on psychology of relating, where you're learning needs, you having that interview with a panel of 5 men. You're going to have a coaching call with me when you're going to bring your relationship dynamics, and I will coach each of you on the call live. And then our final block, we're going into juicy topics of desire, creativity, getting clear on what kind of relationship you want to have, sensuality, sexuality. So first, right, we're doing a lot of clearing. Then we're doing educational aspect of it, and then we're going into this energy of creatrix, manifestation, opening up your pleasure, your receptivity, because right, we need to clear the field before we go into all of those great things. Because remember the metaphor about the smell. And there is different tiers for you to join the program. There is a tier where you get only the recordings. You're still part of the Telegram group, so you can still be accountable. You can still participate. You can still share your homework. You can still ask questions. You can still be part of the community in the group. Simply, you're not going to be part of the live calls. You're not going to be asking me questions directly. I'm not going to be working directly with you on the live call, but you will be watching the replays from other women, and maybe some things will resonate with you. So that is the foundation tier. Also, if you're in Europe or anywhere else in the world, or you have busy somewhere and you're not available for the live calls, but you want to get access to the knowledge, you can get the foundation tier. It's $555 today with a special offer. You can sign up for $444. The second tier is practice, which includes 4 live coaching calls. And I recommend doing that tier because you can work directly with me. And on those calls, we're doing like a heavy lifting work. The questions that you ask yourself, the coaching that you receive, the clarity that you get, right? Often we avoid doing those things. We find distractions. So here we're doing it together for 2 hours on the call. You stay accountable, you get support, and you work with me directly. That tier, a practice tier, is $900, with a special offer is $749. There's also payment plan available. I believe it starts from $277. And if you want to work with me more privately and get one-on-one coaching calls, 3 coaching calls with me in addition to everything else, and lifelong access to all the recordings, that is, I believe, $2,500. And with the special promo today, it's $1,800. So you can choose whichever tier works for you and where you are in life. And I would be excited to guide and support you on this journey, that as a result of it, you will come out with tools and skills, and more importantly, new behaviors and the path to new identity. So those energies, those dynamic is not a match. Because if you're not going to change the behavior that got you in this situation, in this dynamic, nothing else magically will change, unfortunately. Believe me, I tried. Nothing else works, right? Working on ourselves, changing, clearing the gunk, our limiting beliefs, our emotional experience, our starvation is the only thing that creates shift. But there is a huge benefit. As a woman, the moment you shift there, you immediately become more feminine without trying and faking it. Because once your body is more relaxed, once your self worth is no longer acquired from something or someone outside, you start choosing pleasure. You start choosing what's good to you. You start attracting different opportunities and different people. Any questions? We are at time. I know we missed some time because um we had all that situation with the troll. So I might stay for a couple more minutes and I will answer a couple questions that you guys submitted. Let me find where are the questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. If you want to ask me a question, raise your hand, or you can put it in the chat. How much time is needed daily? How long will the videos be available for the first and second tier? So the time that you need daily, the modules, up to 90 minutes. Majority of them is 1 hour. I really try to give you all the information like detailed, but also not way too long. And I keep them entertaining, like they fun, like I joke, I give you great like examples. You can also watch them on a double speed if you want to. Then there's a homework. Depending on the homework, some homework is more reflective, some homework is more practical, some homework you can easily implement in your day because it's more of changing your behavior, how you talk to people or how you show up or what it is that how you relate to people, so you can easily implement it in your day-to-day life. And then your participation in a Telegram group. Telegram is completely optional. You can participate or don't. I encourage you to participate. At least put your reflections in the homework thread because you actually gonna get raffled will be at the end, and those who participated and shared about their homework can win great prizes. So do at least for that, or just for you as a journal to have access to what it is that you're learning, what's your aha moments. So I would say altogether 2 hours, something like that. Um, Oh, you ask daily. Well, daily, the practices that you do, prioritizing yourself, like one of the tasks that you will be doing is putting at least 30 minutes in your calendar for yourself. And I'm going to explain what exactly you do in that 30 minutes. It's not watching the module. That is not self-care. That is not self-devotion. So I would say daily, 30 minutes for yourself, and that would be explained to you what and how, and overall about 2 hours per week to do the homework to watch the module. For the first tier, you have access to recordings for 4 months. It's 3 months of the program and one additional month after. For the second tier, for 6 months. So 3 months of the program and 3 additional months. After that, you will be able to purchase the access to those replays for, I think, $39 per month. So that would be available. Yeah. Let me answer some of the questions that you guys submitted. So one of the questions is, how do I tell, sorry, 1 second. Here we go. Single, don't go on many dates. Had an on and off anxious me, avoidant him, sex only relationship for almost 3 years. How can I shift that? Well, I feel like after this call, you have a clarity how to shift that, right? To admit that that is the dynamic that I crave. This is something that I know, and then choose healing, go back to your initial traumas situation, takes ownership, and educate yourself on how to do relationship differently, right? And giving yourself opportunity for different experiences. One of the experiences can be attending Tantra Speed Date. Tantra Speed Date happens in 60 cities. And the beauty about the event is you play with feminine masculine polarity and you can experience how does it feel when the man show up grounded and offer containment, offer holding, offer his presence. And you can simply experience how does that feel, right? Because you can read many books, but you need to experience it body to body. Right? So it's like, oh, I like that. Oh, that felt challenging. Oh, that felt uncomfortable, right? To get data. Right? Remember that changing your experiences is the most important thing because that's going to create a change and the shift. But in order for you to get new experiences, you need to have data, you need to have information. Um, so that's that. Let me read another one. Uh, I hit a pattern of dating men who show consistency and interest. Then, after we get intimate or have a conflict, they pull back and turn into a situationship. Um, how can I spot that behavior earlier? You spot that behavior when exactly the person throws a tantrum, and after the first experience, right, after the first disappearing, the first shutdown, when they come back, you tell them, hey, it doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for me. You're going to do it another time. I'm going to block you and I'm not going to continue playing in this dynamic. But the key is for you to be willing to do that. Often we get hooked in this dynamics for all the reasons why I explained. And the only way out is for you to finally look at those parts of yourself and start educating yourself and learning how to take care of yourself and show up differently as a woman and build your feminine throne. Build your foundation. Do not come into relationship hungry. If your life is work and home, and then you meet a man and he gives you the only source of dopamine and oxytocin, of course you're going to get hooked. You're not even going to look who he is. Do you like him? Do you have special values? He's your source of goodness in life. It's not going to work, right? So that's why we're building ourselves. That's why self-devotion is your daily practice for the rest of your life. And you need that, especially when you're in a relationship. Especially when you're in a relationship, because you don't want to become something familiar and something easily available to him. You still need to have space. You still need to have your life. You still need to have interest. He needs to know that if he's out, you have your life and you're not collapsing, right? That you on demand. And often we give up our life and dedicate our life to this man and then wonder why we're not having sex for decades. Because you are not present in that relationship, right? You're a shadow in that relationship. And that's why we need to do the work that we need to do as women. That's why the Love Goddess Experience program. Um, when will the live calls would take place? The live call takes place on Mondays. The schedule is in the link. They are at 7:30 p.m. Eastern and they will be recorded and everybody will have access to those recordings. The calls are July 27, August 24, September 21st, and October 5th. Those are the 4 live calls. Will there be replay of this masterclass? Yes, there will be replay of this masterclass. You're going to get that via email. How do I manifest the guy? I feel like I have done the work. I feel my femininity. I have full life. What is up spiral? Um, Down spiral, where we go and think negative thoughts, and then the negative thoughts creates the feelings that bring us down. right? And up spiral is when we think positive thoughts and they inspire us and it kind of like helps us go up, right? And that's something that we need to do for ourselves, and we need to spot our own thinking, right? We need to notice, what is it that I'm telling to myself? What is it that I'm believing, right? What is it that's going on with me? About the manifesting the guy, going out, meeting people, being available to people, don't have expectations, right? Don't have that attachment. Because if I have a full life, then I'm not devastated that I don't have a guy, right? If that's still some kind of a trigger and a hook and I feel incomplete, then I need to still do the work, right? I still need to do the work. I need to have experiences where I can feel held. And I totally get it, right? As women, we do want to feel that. How you can get that? Dance classes. Go take dance classes where man leads you, where your body literally feels his containment. He moves you in different ways, right? And you feed the part of you. So then you're not hungry when you meet a date, when you meet a man for a date, right? It's like, okay, my system knows how to have containment. Let me see, do I feel a good containment from this man versus I don't have any containment in my life. This is the man, I need to get him, right? Like, do we see the differences? And that's what self-devotion is. I know my needs. I'm not waiting for one human to fulfill them. I'm figuring out how to fulfill them. Right? That's self-devotion. That's mastery. Okay, my loves, thank you so much for joining today, especially with the turmoil that we had with the troll. Um, Thank you so much for your time. It was great to have you here. The special offer is available for the next 72 hours. You're going to get an email with a replay of this masterclass. The program begins July 13th, and I hope to see you there and support you and guide you on this path. Oh, we didn't do what are your takeaways? If you take a moment and put in the chat your takeaways, and the takeaways like your aha, something that touched you, or your light bulb, your right breakthrough, like something that was new and interesting, please put that in the chat because that's how you give back to me, and that's how we complete the cycle of energy and connection that we all just shared. And I would also appreciate that. Want to know, want to hear what's landed for you. Believe me, it touches my heart. It warms my heart, puts a smile on my face. So if you enjoyed this hour and a half, please share. The takeaway, take agency. I need a clearing. Yep. That's a good realization, right? And that's like the first step to start changing all of that dynamic. So I'm celebrating you, Karen. And yes, Sylvia. Have our own life outside of a relationship. Yes, if you want to have successful relationship, you have to have your life. And that's why in the feminine throne method, I'm teaching you how to feed that life. So you have variety of options. It's not one source also. That everything literally stems from childhood. That's where the pattern started. I know, sucks, so boring. And right, the moment we realize that, and the moment we take agency now to change that, so I'm no longer waiting that from a man, a government, business, right, everything that's outside of me, where I start radically choosing myself and practicing self-devotion. It takes time, but it works. And the Love Goddess Experience program gives you the map, motivation, accountability, sisterhood, deliciousness. So it's a great, great resource.